I haven't been up in here, this spare room closet, for 12 years. And look at this. Wife is getting a new car. So the old stereo is coming out, and this old stereo here is going back in there. So that's what we're going to do today. So now we're at the van. This here is the wife's van. She's getting herself this really beautiful new 19 Kia Sedona to replace this one here for the family. And so there's the stereo I just brought down from the bonus room upstairs. That's going to go and replace this, which is the JVC. It's a doubled in GPS unit. Down in there, there's going to be a power flow kit, a Sirius tuner, which I'm going to rip that out of there. And down here, it's almost impossible to see. Let me try to show you what else we got in here. So down in there, there's a Memphis 4 channel. That will be coming out. I'm going to put the power back from the stock radio like it used to be. Over here, there's another amp which powers the sub in the back. Oh, by the way, this thing does have front component speakers. I have some tweeters in there, a crossover, and a mid bass in the front doors. I'm just gonna actually just leave those in there because it ain't worth the time to rip those suckers out. So those 2 amps are gonna be gone. Back here, it's a nice little sub and an enclosure. That's going to be an easy to take that out. That's just a single plug. Then I'm going to put this thing right back to stock because the dealer is not going to appreciate all this nice stereo equipment. To be honest with you, I think the damn stereo is worth more than the car is at this point. This whole stereo system is powered, of course, by a 2-gauge amp kit that I have in there. So before I get started, I'm going to disengage the power cable so I can work safely. And if you're going to be doing this and you're watching this video because you're going to be doing something like this, that's where you should be starting. So if you're going to pull this wire through the firewall, such as I'm going to do right now, if you have any capacitor or an auxiliary battery on the other side of the firewall, make sure that that's totally disconnected before you pull this cable through, for safety reasons, obviously. There you go. You can see my stack of equipment is already starting to build up. This thing also does have a remote start in there. I might actually rip that out too, but I'm not going to cover that in the video. So getting down in here, yeah, I might get some gloves because that's why. I almost forgot that this thing had a bass knob that's mounted up underneath there for the sub amp. So I'm going to pull this driver's dash area down. And that's going to expose that. After I took the underdash apart, this piece here that covers this little area underneath the center console exposed all the wiring for the extension for the RCAs, for the bass knob, and a remote turn on lead. You can see all that kind of stuff. Bluetooth mic, and some other goodies down here. So that was well worth the effort to take this apart so that way I can do a clean rip out on the stereo portion of this system up front here. Down here is my bass knob. It's for this guy here. I just had that sucker tucked in there, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull that out. I guess I'll catch up with it on the other side because it goes around back onto the under seat amplifier location. So for here, this front area anyway, I'm done. So what we're doing now is we're going to take out the 4-channel highs amp, which is located right down in here. And that's a real life. That's not edited for video install. That's actually the installation that I did 12 years ago. And this is just it's a Memphis 4 channel. It's really in there. I'm gonna have to cut some wire ties and some straps and break it free. So now the back side of this amplifier I broke free. That big ass screwdriver right in there. Now I'm gonna pull it out from the front side. Just real carefully pull it. There there you go. Now, here's what's going on here. On this side, there's my speaker outputs. So basically, those speaker wires will run under the carpet here, around behind this, and they go up to behind that stereo right there. And that's where I grab my speaker leads at the factory speaker harness. I'm going to show you that later on in the video. So basically, when I disconnect this, you're going to have no sound anymore because it's all RCAs that came in on this 5-channel flat RCA that were my audio output from the stereo. They ran down to the amp, go in that side, and they amplify and they power the speakers in the car. Alright, so here's the amp out of the car. On this side here, there's the RCA inputs that are feeding audio input to the amplifier from the aftermarket stereo. And on the other side, there's all my speaker wire outputs. So I cut them on both sides, pull out the aftermarket speaker wires that are running from the amplifier here to the stereo. Then we're going to plug in the factory radio and take out all that aftermarket wiring when we get behind the dash. Most of my amp wiring is going to run from this passenger side over to under the seats. So I'm just going to pull out these little panels. You'll see when you lift this up, all these cables just go from here under the seat, and this all needs to come out. So you might have a little bit of that if you're doing this in your own car. Some of these panels, kick panels, all this kind of stuff. Yeah, in case you wanted to see it, look at this mess. These are all my power, my ground. I actually use this amplifier as a distribution block because it had the provision for it, so I ran power that came in from under the dash, the 2 gauge, and I broke it down to an 8, which ran out to the other sub amp. And these are all going to come out. So you get your remote lead, your power, ground, speaker level outputs. There's my 5-channel flat RCA, which fed the audio signal to the amp. Just going to pull all those out through here, make them salvageable to the best of my ability anyway. I'm going to try. And some of my wires kind of ran through, and this A pillar was screwed down, so I had to kind of like remove all that, just get it out so I can have a clean pull out. So with this cleared out, all of this, you can clearly see all my cables are here, my audio cables are here. Oh. Come on now. Let's see back in here. Back up in here is all my power cables. So now I can get a nice straight clean pull from all those wires. See this? Watch. Get them all up. Boom. Right there. Everything's coming real nice. Yeah, nice. I like that. Another good reason why it's good to pull all these panels up and really clean like I did where I did the, you know, this runner, the cap piece, the kick panel, the under dash, the whole thing, the carpet, because up in here there was a huge mondo lump of excess cables, which you would have never found easily had you not done all this stuff. You could actually destroy parts of the car yanking on this stuff. So better to take your time a little here and there. It saves you a lot of time in the end. So now that I got all this crap out from the front, it's kind of running through this pillar and it's coming out, running along here and back underneath to this seat. So I'm going to just cut all those wire ties, put that back to factory, put that big old panel back on top, pull this amp out, and that'll be that. So now I basically got this front passenger area pretty much well done. I just got to sew it up, throw a couple panels back in there, and that's a wrap. Cables here, I went ahead and pulled them out to this point here. Now I just have to get this seat out and up, which will expose my sub amp right there. Once I just disconnect these, remove my bass control knob because I want to keep that intact because I want that. Pull this guy out. The sub I've already taken out and unplugged from the back. So this is pretty straightforward. No big explanation required here. This is what it looks like. 12 years of dust and dirt. There you go. Take a look now. It's starting to look like a real van again. So that's the last job, switching out that double din aftermarket unit and the Sirius tuner, which is buried down there someplace, with the stock Hyundai stereo there. Almost done now. Now, when doing the stereo replacement and putting it back to stock, every car is different, of course. And this one here, basically the way it works is this way. You take a panel puller, and then this bottom piece comes off, then you remove this top shroud right here, and that's going to expose all of this, and there's going to be 4 screws around the side, which will enable you to pull the stereo out from the front, disconnect it, undo the wiring, put it back to stock, and then reinstall it. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So now I got my dash completely removed. The stereo is free because I took the 4 screws out from the new dash kit. I'm going to slide that right out of there. And then there is where all my plugs are at. So I'm going to simply unplug all this stuff. Then I'm going to explain to you how to reverse all of this. And half of the stuff you don't even need. So don't let it scare you. You know, I did this job so long ago, I had forgotten what I had done. But on the back here, I'm like, what is this plug? Maybe you'll forget too when you do your job. This one here had the iPod interface because it ran through, so you could have the iPod charger in the glove box. So that I have to undo, so that way it'll allow this plug to be free, and I could break this whole assembly out of the dash. When you're at the point where you have the aftermarket stereo fully removed like I have here, basically you just want to undo all this clutter and take all the aftermarket plugs out. For instance, you got this one here, which is the preamp or camera input auxiliary type of plug dealy. See that whole thing right there? Boom, that's one big old plug gone, right? Then you got here, this is the power speaker harness, which is running into here, and this I'll refer to as a Metra kit just because I like Metra. Now, the purpose for this Metra harness is twofold. One, so I can connect my power ground, RCA, amp, turn on, reverse lead, and all that kind of stuff to my aftermarket stereo. But since I had an external amplifier running power, the power output, speaker output channels ran up through the back of the dash, went into the stock harness, so that way it just runs them directly back into the factory harness and out through all the speakers. Pretty cool, right? So now when I want to undo all the stuff, simply all I have to do is unplug this Metra wire adapter harness, and then this plug will plug directly into the back of the original stereo receiver. Voila, just like that. Like I was saying, this wire harness adapter, once you disconnect it, this goes, well, if you just not fight me, that would be cool. I'm trying to make a video here. This here is connected to all this factory harness and all this other BS. Boom, there you go. Go with your friend. There's all the aftermarket wiring. Now, this is what we're left with. A stock factory plug. You should have an antenna for the new stereo, and that's it. Simple. It don't get no easier than that. Now I just got to mount up the new stereo, slide it back in, put the dashboard back together, and call this done. Although I didn't show y'all, this here is a Sirius XM tuner which I had back in the dashboard, and I forgot I found it when I was sticking my hands in there cleaning everything out. And also this guy here, which is the GPS antenna. So here it is, installed. All we have to do is just put a couple of pieces back together here. Click here, click there, done. Sounds horrible, but it doesn't have to sound good because we got us a new vehicle coming next week. See ya! In case you were wondering what this mess looks like out of the car, here you go. There's the sub box, the amp kit, 2 gauge, 8 gauge, 4 channel, 2 channel, head unit, dash kit, brackets, RCAs, speaker, cables, Sirius tuner, GPS, fuse blocks, all of that crap, man. There you go. It's done. New car, here we come.